The U.S. president said today that after a months-long pause, those tariffs will take effect next week. Trump defended the move, blaming previous administrations for allowing what he describes as unfair trade deals.
We were led by, in some cases, fools, because anybody that would sign documents like they signed, where they were able to take advantage of the American people, like has happened over the last long period of time, except for a little 4-year period that took place 4 years ago. But anybody that would agree to allow this to happen to our country should be ashamed of themselves.
Richard Madden is in Washington. And Richard, you were in the room when Trump said that.
Yeah, we were. We were in the Gilded East Room of the White House for that joint press conference where the question of tariffs was brought up by a colleague. And Trump essentially said that, yeah, it's happening. And these tariffs, of course, Ian, goes back to those initial tariffs Trump threatened to slap on Canada and Mexico linked to border security and fentanyl. You'll recall Trump initially paused them until the beginning of March to kickstart negotiations. And as a result, Canada scrambled, promising to bolster security along the northern border and appointed a fentanyl czar, as the White House requested. But apparently that's still not enough to satisfy the administration. And Trump says those tariffs are going forward and on time. Watch this.
We've been mistreated very badly by many countries, not just Canada and Mexico. The tariffs are going forward on time, on schedule. This is an abuse that took place for many, many years. And I'm not even blaming the other countries that did this. I blame our leadership for allowing it to happen.
So this could be another negotiating tactic by Trump, but it's also part of this frustration we're hearing from Canadian leadership. Even Ontario Premier Doug Ford said it last week during his visit here, is that the goalposts keep moving. No one knows what would satisfy Trump to show that the border is secure and fentanyl flow has been slowed. And if you're keeping score, Canada can expect 25% tariffs on all goods starting next week, another 10% on energy imports like oil and gas, and then more tariffs on auto, steel, and aluminum in April. So perhaps there's still another week to negotiate. A week is a long time in politics and in Trump world, so anything can happen. Perhaps the art of the deal, as some would call it.
Yeah, perhaps. Now, speaking of trade and alliances, Emmanuel Macron was with Trump today as well.
Yeah, he was, as part of some diplomatic counter-diplomacy. Macron is the first leader of two separate high-stakes European leaders to visit the White House, and the European leaders are urging the president not to abandon Ukraine as the U.S. negotiates a peace deal with Russia that Europe, by the way, has largely been excluded from. Now, Macron has since confirmed that some European countries are prepared to bolster more money to secure Ukraine and possibly even send troops into Ukraine, but in a limited role. But Macron sent a message in saying that America's leadership is still needed to play a crucial role to broker a ceasefire. Watch.
A lot of my European colleagues are ready to be engaged, but we do need this American backup because this is part of the credibility of the security guarantees, and this is our collective deterrence capacity. And I have the feeling that the president has this capacity.
So it was something to observe in the East Room at that press conference. The two leaders genuinely appeared friendly and engaging. But behind the scenes, European leaders are increasingly worried at the U.S. essentially parroting Kremlin talking points. We heard the president blame Ukraine for starting the Russian invasion. Trump would undermine the credibility of Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. So with the cameras rolling, the diplomacy appeared to take a bit of a backseat over their notable disagreement on the value of Europe's support for Ukraine. And that prompted this extraordinary correction by Macron inside the Oval Office. Watch.
Europe is loaning the money to Ukraine. They get their money back.
No, in fact, to be frank, we paid 60% of the total effort, and it was through, like the US, loans, guarantee, grants, and we provided real money, to be clear.
Now, on Thursday, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer will visit the White House as part of that diplomatic counteroffensive we're seeing by these European leaders. Trump also hinted that Ukraine President Vladimir Zelensky could also visit a few weeks from now to apparently sign a deal providing Ukraine's critical minerals to the U.S. in exchange for security guarantees. So this week, there'll be a lot of focus from the White House and these European leaders really hoping to change the president's mind.
Thanks, Richard.
You bet.